Before starting your painting, it is important to create a value study of your subject. Doing this will make the process of creating your painting infinitely easier, because you'll have a clear idea of what area in your painting will be the brightest area, which area will be the darkest, and what will be in between the two. Having clear light and dark values in your painting is one of the most important elements, because it is what makes your painting feel like it has a sense of light. Here's a photo of my subject, a white cube sitting on my table with a blue cloth underneath it, extending out into the background. I created my drawing study from real life, but this is a photo reference for you to have an understanding of what I was working from. Now to get started with the drawing, I have a piece of paper, a piece of charcoal, and an eraser. I want this to be a small thumbnail type of drawing, as it is not meant to capture detail, but rather the big picture of light and dark. To make sure that my drawing will be small, I create a roughly 3x3 or 4x4 inch box to make my drawing in. I then move into drawing the basic lines that form the top part of the cube. I work at trying to get the correct angles, but I do not spend too much time on working to get it absolutely precise, as this is not the most important thing for this drawing, as this is a value study, not a study in angles and proportion. I then mark out the dark area that is to the right of the cube. I use the flat side of my piece of charcoal to be able to put down strong, thick lines. I put down another line that makes my cube look more like a cube now. I work on extending the dark area further out, as these areas are darker than the cube. I create clean, wide, dark lines by using the edge of my charcoal against the edge line of the cube. Now I fill in the right side of this cube with dark shadow color. Next, I draw the underside of the cube to give myself an idea of where the bottom of the cube is. I also mark out the shadow area to the left of the cube with the flat side of my charcoal. Now I also mark out the shadow side of the cube itself with the flat side of my charcoal. Since the shadow side of the cube, however, is lighter than the dark shadow on the left side of the cube, I darken the shadow to the left of the cube. The shadow on the cube is also lighter than the area below the cube, so I also darken this area as well. I darken the shadow on the cube just a little more. I then use my finger to lighten the area beneath the cube a little bit. Here I create some stronger, darker shadow areas. Now I darken the top part of my cube. I use my finger to lighten the area and also smooth out the texture. I create definition between the two sides of the cube. I do this by making it clear that the side of the cube facing us is darker than the top side of the cube. I also create clean lines between different areas. And I work on filling the rest of that dark shadow area that is to the left of the cube. If you look at the reference photo, you will see the shadow to the left of the cube is quite dark. Here I make a distinction between the dark shadow that is to the left and the rest of the shadow. I do this by making sure that the shadow to the left is darker than any other area in this drawing. And I use my finger to lighten the area beneath the cube and to the right side. However, if you again look at the reference photo, you will also see that the upper right side is quite dark, so I make sure that this area is darker than the lower part of the drawing. I touch up some areas here on the left to make them even darker than before, and I make some edges more distinct than before as well. Now it's your turn. Set up a still life for yourself and create a value study sketch using the concepts I taught in this lecture. You can set up one just like this one, or something entirely different. Above everything, just be sure to create clear and simple values, like the sample drawing.